Alright guys, the time is now for a showdown between the Vampire Coast, who's going to be led by Grumpy Cat atop his mighty scratching post, and the High Elves, who are going to be led by Tyrion. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So first things first, here in the back we do of course have Queen Bess. Now Queen Bess, one of the few matchups in which I think Bess can actually do some pretty good work is against the High Elves. Granted, I still don't think it's a competitive pick here. It's something that you can probably get away with in some games. Granted, you are kind of rolling the dice, because if the High Elves do go with a bolt thrower build, they use the Eagle Claw bolt throwers, it's going to be really tough, and Queen Bess is going to get taken out very quickly. But if they don't, it can definitely drop some hot fire on, bunched up infantry, the spearmen, the white lions. It can also do some pretty good work against things like the Sisters of Avalorn, because you can see, I think he has some back here. Yeah, the Sisters are actually in a bit of a tighter formation, but if you look at things like Shadow Warriors and those kind of skirmish vanguard missile units, they're a little bit more of a loose formation. So it's going to be a little bit tougher for old Bessie to do a good job here, but nonetheless, looking forward to seeing how it does this game. But if you were to play in like a tournament or somewhere in a really competitive environment, I would probably cut Queen Bess and explore some other options, because again, there's a lot you can do with 1600. You could get more depth guard, you could get a couple more chaff infantry to kind of help you stabilize. Definitely a lot of other choices for sure. We got some zombie powered deckhand mobs with polearms here, and we do have the double colossus. So the colossus are very good against high elves. They're great at picking apart the cav, the reavers, the dragon princes. They have heavy armor piercing. They're actually pretty good at like pressuring archers as well, because they're reasonably fast with 45 speed with their giant peg legs. They can get out of range of the archers. You can see the archers have 38 speed, as long as you keep some zombies like between them and the archers. Or you can advance like this and shoot and force them back. I mean, they are just such a good unit, especially Count Noctilus on top of his scratching post here. He does, of course, have the Drown Dead, Invocation of Heck, and the Moon's Owl, so he's bringing a lot to the table. And the other Colossus is just ready to party as always. For the main force, we got zombie deckhand mobs in the front, just going to be sacrificing themselves into the High Elf spears. And we have two groups of the depth guard, which are really, really good in this matchup, because they pretty much can take out most of the High Elf infantry, except for, the high end of the spectrum, right? Like the Swordmasters and the Phoenix Guard. But against like Spearmen and White Lions, these guys are very efficient, so I like them quite a bit here. So we do have two of those. On top of that, we have a couple deck droppers. We have two groups of deck droppers with handguns. I just like them against Dragon Princes and Cav and things like that. And even though archers are a very good counter, if you maneuver them well and kind of try and swoop up and around the archers and isolate targets, they can do some pretty good work. But again, it's a very, very touchy thing. You have to be careful with them. So for my opponent's forces, a vanguard of Shadow Warriors, which I like quite a bit. Shadow Warriors, for example, had I gone with, let's say, a bunch of handgunners and powder in the more traditional sense, these guys would have been able to tear them apart very quickly. So I do like the Shadow Warrior pick quite a bit. Looks like my dogs, I have some scurvy dogs too. I think I have two groups in total. One of them's like back there. But the scurvy dogs are going to be attacking the Shadow Warriors down here. So pretty cool pick. Granted, it's not going to be as good against what I brought, but still decent at picking apart deckhand mobs. They can kill the deck droppers with handguns. They're pretty mobile and can definitely fight in melee and actually beat the deckhand mobs in melee. So going to be a little bit scary. Spearman here, he does have Tyrion on foot, so Tyrion's got Sunfang, he's ready to go. Definitely going to be a little bit spooky as Tyrion does massive AP damage, but I'm kind of glad he's on foot, because he's not going to be able to catch Noctilus if I decide to run. White Lions here in the back getting pounded by Queen Bess, and for his main force, he's got Spearman, Swordmaster of Hoth, or Loremaster of Hoth, excuse me, with the Spirit Leech and Earthblood, pretty standard stuff. Spearman, White Lions back here, and he does also have one group of the Sisters, who are going to be really, really scary if I'm not able to mitigate those guys. So really need to use Queen Bess to take those lasses out there. Anyways, guys, let's get the show on the road. So the arrow pressure is going to be coming in here, shooting at my depth guard. So my opponent obviously realizing that these guys are the real threat here, but Count Noctilus and his other buddy here are going to be marching forward, because I knew this was like his partial force. And Queen Bess actually has done a ton of damage to the White Line so far, so that's definitely some good value, getting rid of the troops that are going to be pretty strong against my depth guard. In the meantime, though, I do just charge in here, but then I saw Tyrion emerge from the ranks. I was like, oh boy, I'm going to fall back a little bit, but Noctilus does get in there. Queen Bess gets a really nice hit right there, actually does some substantial damage. And I just summon some zombies, so Noctilus is able to kind of wade through, and he shoots while he's moving, so he's generating value. It's such a solid lord. I mean, that's something about the Vampire Coast. I think they do have some of the best like lords in the game. Just like every lord is pretty good. Like Aranessa is good, Solostra is good, Luther is extremely good, Noctilus is good. Like they're all viable and like useful in a multitude of matchups. So the other Colossus here is going to be shooting again at the Shadow Warriors, but a big old erect Sunfang coming down, which does some pretty good damage to my depth guard, more so against the zombie deckhand mobs. And I do respond with an Invocation of Heck, just targeting the depth guard. Didn't really warrant an overcast because these zombies weren't really worth kind of bringing back here. In the meantime, I do use Noctilus to summon some powder mobs, so I summon them and I just start chasing the archers, and I don't mind if these Shadow Warriors use their ammunition to deal with my gunnery mobs, like these chaff ones, like that's totally fine. So I'm just going to be moving and shooting. Of course, they can shoot while they march forward here, which is just such value. You can see they're actually picking off a couple of the Shadow Warriors, a pretty good little situation there. In the meantime, the deck droppers in the back just shooting at the Loremaster of Hoeth. I'm making sure to keep them like behind the mainline fight, right? So if anything does get through, that's what I use the deck droppers for, not so much a harass or pressure unit. Turin, in the meantime, is kind of fighting amongst the rocks. You can see he's going to be battling Depth Guard and zombies, and yeah, definitely a fun little fight for him. But he's doing some pretty good work, cutting up the Depth Guard, and of course he's going to probably have more Sunfang, and the Spearmen will get through my chaff units eventually. So very, very close fight so far. The Sisters of Avalorn are now shooting at me, but Queen Bess has switched her sights onto the Sisters, and a couple shots were done. Huge! Oh, and a massive shot! So Queen Bess definitely paying her dues right now. I mean, I don't know how I would have dealt with those guys without Queen Bess. I probably would have had to get like more Hounds or put more Fellbats or something like that, but man, Queen Bess just pounding those Sisters, just doing massive damage. And now that they're very low and kind of buttered up, I bring in the Deck Droppers and Queen Bess with another shot just to rub salt on the wound. But again, I am pretty low on ammo, but I would say Queen Bess has paid for itself. It basically killed Sisters, did a ton of damage to White Lions. It is a very, very useful pick right here, considering he didn't bring the counters to Queen Bess, like the Bolt Throws and different things like that. But I still feel like it's a little bit risky, but I think one of the matchups in which it probably does do better is against High Elves. But anyways, the Gunnery Mobs are going to be advancing down the hill to the Shadow Warriors, kind of forcing them back into the forest, but the Warriors are going to rush out and meet them in combat, which is not a bad idea at all. To be able to help clean them up faster. And you can see my other summon here. So I've summoned multiple groups of these guns just to pressure here, and the Wraith Storm going down on the White Lions. And yeah, things are going pretty good. Bounce of power maybe slightly in my favor, but again, Tyrion's going to be really tough to kill. The Lore Master's in really good shape right there, and some of these Spearmen are also attacking the Colossus. So there's some funny business going on here. The mainline fight, Tyrion is still a little bit pinned in the mud, in the muck. I've also sent in my Depth Guard to kind of attack a little bit and try and work down these White Lines, but White Lines are good against Depth Guard. For the cost, they trade upward very efficiently, right? Because Depth Guard definitely don't want to be standing up to other AP infantry, but if they have to, I'm pretty sure they can beat the White Lines in one-on-one. Not 100% sure, but they do cost a lot more. Anyways, the archers are coming back in. The Shadow Warriors were able to secure the back line for the most part. These Gunnery Mobs are actually able to break off and destroy that group of Shadow Warriors, so that was a really solid pick here. The Depth Guard, on top of that, 129 kills. They are like the masters of killing Spearmen and lightly armored troops. The Colossus are kind of being a little bit inundated by the spear, so I'm just kind of marching about and shooting while I move, not letting them set up shop. And the remnants of the Sisters of Avalorn, it looks like there actually is a group back here of 16 of them. Definitely not the numbers they started with, and they're doing some okay against the Deck Droppers and whatnot. But Queen Bessie's pretty much out of ammunition, so I was like, yeah, well, Queen Bess's crew, let's look at their stats. 12, 10, 29. Okay, so they have pretty similar stat lines to, let's say, the zombie deckhand mobs here. But the mainline fight's very messy. Like, I'm just spam summoning zombies, trying to keep Tyrion pinned, because Tyrion's just been like kind of trapped in this forest fighting here. But you can see it's starting to look a little bit thin. The White Lions, led by Tyrion, are just massacring the Depth Guard here, and it's only a matter of time before my front line collapses and things are going to get a little bit ugly. My Deck Droppers in the back, I'm just kind of rotating away from the archer fire, trying to shoot the White Lions and work down his heavy troops. And you can see a couple attacks from Tyrion, as well as this Lore Master of Hoeth, were able to actually spank Noctilus pretty bad. Thankfully, he is faster than these guys, and you wouldn't think so, but yeah, he doesn't like look like he's moving fast, but he's a little bit quicker than people expect with that 45 speed. And unfortunately, Tyrion is not on horseback. I mean, he is pretty good on foot here, but I do think he probably should be on horseback. I mean, otherwise he's not going to be able to even catch Noctilus. Really good Spirit Leech going down as well, which is going to do some work. And also my Deck Droppers in the meantime are going to be dropping some fire into Tyrion, trying to do as much damage as they can. And Noctilus providing some nice Overwatch fire back here to these Spearmen, getting a shot in the back, and that should be able to kind of break those guys, which is going to help the corpse of Queen Bess kind of stabilize here. But Bounce of Power is pretty much dead even. Lore Master and Tyrion are in good shape. I'm about 40% ammunition on the two Colossus, who are just marching and shooting. Arguably, I could have been a little bit more conservative with their ammunition and just only shoot, but I kind of just wanted to net value and try and end the game a little bit quicker, but I don't know if that was a prudent decision. So these Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs are going to be piling in to deal Tyrion. I do summon, I think it was like either my last, or I have one more after this of these Zombie Pirate Deckhand mobs to kind of fight these Spearmen and hold the line. But yeah, it's going to be tough to kill Tyrion. I mean, Footlords, Colossus already take like 5 years to kill anything on the ground. Like, it is so slow for them dueling other lords. So it's going to be a little bit tough actually trying to polish those guys off. I have some Depth Guard in the distance. I have 37 models who are going to be coming back. But he did actually have a group of White Lions who I don't know what ended up happening with these guys. They were fighting. They have 36 kills. I think I had like a summoned group of Gunnery Mobs that they ended up fighting. So they're going to be getting back into the battle, and they're going to be able to probably finish off these Depth Guards. So a lot of scary stuff going on. Thankfully, I do have a lot of ammunition on the Deck Droppers who can provide some decent Overwatch fire and take out those White Lions. So I'm really kind of relying on that. But in the meantime, just Deckhand Polearms fighting. Noctilus is getting in there with his peg leg. He's going to be trying to peg Tyrion. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm basically just running, like straight up Benny Hill theme. I'm running, trying to get value, just shooting at whatever I can, and you can see he's taking especially a long time to aim there, but like Tyrion will spank Noctilus in a duel, so I need to get away and like force him into a situation where it's my double Colossus kind of beating down Tyrion in like a 2v1. Otherwise, like 1v1, just no way. That is not good news. So the White Lines are coming back. The elite vampiric infantry, the Depth Guard, are going to be just pouring through the trees, just trying to rush to the aid of their liege over here. Count Noctilus Hiding behind Queen Bess, definitely not a bad idea with his peg leg. He's just going to be like sitting back here. And I mean, he could get like line of sight blocking. I've been playing quite a bit of 40k, so I'm always like used to like getting down to eye level and like looking like, oh, can he see that unit? But anyways, yeah, Noxus is going to be kind of hiding a little bit, trying to create some distance because he does have ammo, right? So might as well fall back with it. Use Depth Guard. I do use, for the last of my wins of Magic, to use the Invocation of Nehek right here, which is definitely pretty valuable, and I think it's going to be really useful in these Depth Guard, who are going to charge in, and at the very least, they're going to massacre the last of these Spearmen, right? So they're piling in. Pegleg over there is just kind of stomping. Tyrion is going to be able to finish off the Depth Guard eventually, but it's still going to hopefully finish off the last of the High Elf forces and allow me to kind of isolate these really high-value targets here. So there are some sisters back, and the Fellbats or the Dire Bats or the Deck Droppers, whatever the hell they're called, they're going to be going around and dropping some decks here and chasing down the scraps, making sure his archers can't come back in and make a difference here. So it's pretty important in the late game just to chase off routing units like that, so you can really isolate those juicy targets. The Depth Guard here, 211 kills. Whoever said Depth Guard, yeah, I mean, they're good. They are good, for sure. I mean, again, as more of a supporting troop, but they're still a very powerful infantry that are pretty much mandatory in the High Elf and Dark Elf matchup, in my opinion. So really fat Sunfang, so the bounce power definitely in my favor right here a little bit, or yeah, I'm pretty much dead even, but after that Sunfang, it doesn't look like it moved at all, but it definitely did a lot of damage. It roasted my Queen Bess crew, some of my deck hands, and you can see here that the Depth Guard are now pretty much crumbling off the battlefield, which is going to be tough. So we definitely have a pit fight on our hands. The Colossus are going to be rolling in and just blasting and fighting to the bitter end while I still have halberd support, because I'm like, oh no, once these halberds are gone, I'm going to have to go fisticuffs with Tyrion on the ground. I was so happy, oh man, I was so happy that Tyrion wasn't on a horse here. But he does pop the feint and riposte, so he does have the melee defense and the physical resist and just all these juicy stats, 103, 99, and 470. This guy is just the destroyer of worlds, and yeah, he's going to be cleaving the last of these zombies. The Colossus almost have these white lines finished off. The supporting fire here from the deck choppers with handguns, definitely very helpful here in the fourth quarter, but I'm pretty sure I'm like out of juice right now. The other Colossus is going to be soloing the Lore Master, so I was like, okay, I'm going to see if I can get this duel isolated. I'm pretty sure the Colossus is going to be able to win. It's still a monstrous unit, right? In the deck droppers, I'm just swooping in, finishing off whatever I can. And I actually thought I was going to 100% lose the game. I was like, it's over, I can't win. But then this ability happened, the abandoned ship. So when the Colossus gets below a certain HP threshold, units jump out. Now it's only 60, so it's not the full stack of zombie deckhands, but that was literally the saving grace. The abandoned ship, they were able to get out and just like hold back this tide and allow this Colossus to do a little bit more work and get away, because like this is a lot of pressure here, right? In the meantime, Noctilus is just taking pot shots going after the Lore Master of Hoeth. You can see we're crossfiring him. But I am pretty much at my wit's end of ammo, right? I have one shot here. It looks like Noctilus has one shot, and he's now officially out of ammo. Tyrion and his Spearmen are going in, but we do break off the Lore Master of Hoeth, which is huge, because now the Fellbats or the Deck Droppers are actually going to be chasing off the Lore Master here, which means Tyrion is pretty much isolated. Like the rest of his troops are just so beat up, so tattered. So it's just going to be Colossus Pound Town here for the rest of the battle. Now, I want you guys to just watch this. This is going to be fast forward because the inevitable outcome here, the outcome is going to take a bit of time to achieve, I would say. So you can see here that Tyrion has stand your ground, but just look how long Tyrion takes to kill. Now, if you were on a horse, I feel like you would have died a little bit quicker because like mounted lords are a little bit easier to hit. But these Colossus are just straight up Benny Hill theming, just circling Tyrion, trying their best. Some Spearmen coming back, but they're going to get terror routed in a matter of seconds here. Looks like a Sunfang going down, trying to roast one of the Colossus, but the guy I was playing, we're actually talking in chat. We're like, I wonder if Tyrion's going to outlast the timer, because there is a 20-minute timer on ladder, and like, I was getting no progress done on Tyrion. I mean, I'm fast forwarding right now. Imagine this in real time, and the bounce power keeps shifting back and forth as Tyrion just lays a spanking and almost kills one of my Colossus here. Noctilus still does have abandoned ship, so if it did come to it, I feel like I might be able to stabilize with that, but man, this was just absolute insanity. So right now you can see there's about 6 minutes left. The other Colossus, I pull back, let Tyrion fight the bats for a moment, and then I charge back in. And just such like a cacophony of just nonsense. Oh my god, I was laughing so hard when this was happening. But yeah, so that's pretty much going to be it. We just fight Tyrion, and pretty much now, you guys basically know I have a pretty big advantage. But can Noctilus and his Colossus buddy finish off Tyrion before the timer expires at 20 minutes? We will find out on the next episode. All jokes aside, direct shot right there. That's pretty much going to be it. So he does take a couple hits, but look how long Footlords can last against these Colossus. Like, it is so brutal. I mean, the advantage being that I can run away, but man, that was so ridiculous. I mean, very well played by my opponent, Karomo. That was a super fun game. We were having a good old laugh about it there at the end. But as far as the build goes, it worked pretty well. I think it was good. High Elves are a very hard matchup. You can play it with Deck Gunners and try and pick them apart with Deck Gunners, but I personally like to go with the double Colossus and just like, have some Depth Guard and Scurvy Dogs and things like harassing the back line and going after archers. Now, you could cut Queen Bess and then get like like 1 or 2 more scurvy dogs and get a couple more like solid units in your line. Maybe get some Prometheans, because Prometheans, of course, are very tanky and can deal with white lines and all that sort of stuff. So there is a case to be made, but I do think the double Colossus is very solid. I mean, there's a multitude of builds, and like I said, Vampire Coast have so many good lords that you can really theory craft so many builds. It really just depends on your playstyle. But these guys were good. The dogs were pretty good at harassing the archers and doing the trick there. Queen Bess actually did really good. I can't knock it. Like in the beginning, I was kind of like apprehensive about it, but really she ended up paying her dues and was able to kill one of the few things that my opponent had that was a true hard counter against my Colossus and the Sisters of Averlorn. So good on you all, Queen Bess. Great work there. And yeah, Depth Guard did their job. 212.67, not bad at all. They definitely paid their dues. So I like those guys quite a bit. And for my opponent's build, I thought it was good. I would probably put, I don't know, I'm on the fence because I love Footlords against Vampire Coast, but I mean, then things like that do happen occasionally. I think Tyrion is so much more oppressive when he's on a horse, and I think he still is pretty durable on there as well. So I would put him on a horse. The Spearmen are fine. You could maybe cut 1 Spearman, and the Shadow Warriors maybe just get like, I don't know. I think just going with spam Lothran Seaguard and regular archers is a little bit more cost effective, because just imagine, if you had gone with Lothran Seaguard, they have anti-large. They could have helped out more against the Colossus. They could have been, I mean, and on top of that, although I guess the Queen Bess would have been able to take him out. And the Shadow Warrior build is pretty good against like traditional powder, like handguns and things like that. But so there is some give and take there. But my opponent had a good build. It was an extremely close game, and honestly, it could have gone either way. So very well played to my opponent, Karomo. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the Grumpy Cat. Tell me he doesn't look like Grumpy Cat. Look at that face. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing Grumpy Cat, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.